Imagine waking up tomorrow, ... But it's not tomorrow. It's 2,000 years ago. No phones, no electricity, no hospitals. You open your eyes in a world so brutal, so shocking, that one wrong move could mean death. A world where gladiators fight to entertain crowds, where slaves outnumber free citizens, and where most people woe and live past 30. But here's the twist. The people living back then, they didn't think life was hard. They thought it was ... normal. Today, I'm going to show you what life really looked like through the eyes of those who lived it. And trust me, ... you won't believe what they went through every single day. Let me take you back to a morning 2,000 years ago. The year's 25 AD. You're not in your comfortable bed with soft pillows and warm blankets. No alarm clock is beeping. Instead, you're lying on a thin mat made of straw on a cold stone floor. The sun hasn't risen yet, but you're already awake. Why? Because a rooster just screamed outside your window, and that's your alarm clock. You sit up and look around. Your entire family lives in one small room. Your parents, your brothers, your sisters, maybe even your grandparents. Everyone is crammed into a space smaller than a modern classroom. There's no bathroom, no running water, no light switch to flip on. The only light comes from a tiny oil lamp that your mother lit before dawn. Your clothes? You've been wearing the same tunic for weeks. It's dirty, it smells, and it's starting to fall apart. But here's the shocking part. Nobody cares. Everyone around you looks exactly the same. Taking a bath is something you might do once a month if you're lucky. So, that's for rich people. Yeah, most folks just splash some water on their face and call it a day. You step outside, and the smell hits you like a punch in the face. The streets are filled with garbage. Human waste flows through open ditches because there's no sewage system in most towns. Animals roam, freely goats, pigs, chickens all, leaving their droppings wherever they please. You have to watch every step you take, or you'll step in something nasty. But here's what's really wild. This isn't a bad day. This is every day. This is normal life for almost everyone on planet Earth 2,000 years ago. Whether you're in Rome, China, India, or Africa, most people wake up to this reality. Only the super rich live differently. Everyone else, they're just trying to survive. As you walk down the street, you see your neighbors. Old man Marcus, who's only 35 but looks 60 because life has beaten him down. Little Julia, who's already working at age 7, carrying water from the well. The blacksmith, covered in soot and scars, hammering away at a piece of metal in the scorching heat. Nobody's complaining. Nobody's dreaming of a better life. They don't know life can be better. This is all they've ever known. This is all their parents knew. This is all their grandparents knew. And your day is just beginning. Welcome to life 2,000 years ago. Your stomach is growling. You're hungry, and it's time for breakfast. But forget everything you know about breakfast today. There's no cereal box, no toast popping out of a toaster, no eggs and bacon sizzling on a stove, no orange juice in the fridge. Actually, there's no fridge at all. Your mother hands you a piece of bread. But this isn't the soft, fluffy bread you're thinking of. This bread is hard as a rock. It's made from wheat or barley that was ground by hand, using heavy stones. The flour is rough and filled with tiny bits of stone that got mixed in during grinding. You bite into it, and you can literally feel the grit between your teeth. This is why most people over 20 have terrible teeth. The bread slowly wears them down, meal after meal, year after year. With your bread, you get a small bowl of porridge. It's basically grain boiled in water. It's no sugar, no honey unless you're rich. It's no milk unless your family owns a goat, and even then, milk goes bad quickly without refrigeration. So you eat your bland, tasteless porridge and you're grateful. Why? Because millions of people around the world are eating even less than this. Some are eating nothing at all. If you're really lucky, your family might have some olive oil to dip your bread in, maybe a few olives or some dried fish or meat. Forget about it. So most families only eat meat a few times a year during special festivals or celebrations. Chicken, beef, pork, these are luxury foods. The average person lives mostly on bread, porridge, beans, and whatever vegetables they can grow or find. And here's something that'll blow your mind. There's no breakfast, lunch, and dinner like we have today. Most people eat 2 meals a day, not 3. You eat once in the morning and once in the evening. That's it. Your body has to run on those 2 meals for the entire day of hard physical labor. Water is your main drink, but you have to be careful. The water isn't clean like what comes out of your tap today. It comes from wells, rivers, or public fountains. Sometimes it's dirty. Sometimes it makes people sick, really sick. People die from bad water all the time, but they don't understand why. They don't know about germs or bacteria. They just know that sometimes water makes you ill, and there's nothing you can do about it. Rich people, they drink wine. Even kids drink watered-down wine because it's often safer than regular water. The alcohol kills some of the germs, though nobody back then understands the science behind it. You finish your breakfast in silence. No conversation, no scrolling through your phone. Just eating, preparing for another long, hard day of work. Because if you don't work, you don't eat tomorrow. If you think school is tough today, wait until you hear about education 2,000 years ago. Actually, let me be honest with you right from the start. Most kids don't go to school at all. If you're a girl, forget about it. Girls aren't supposed to learn reading and writing. They're supposed to learn cooking, cleaning, weaving, and how to take care of babies. That's it. Their education happens at home, taught by their mothers and grandmothers. If you're a boy from a poor family, you're not going to school either. Your father needs you to work. Maybe you're helping him in the fields or learning his trade as a carpenter, potter, or fisherman. Education is a luxury, and your family can't afford luxuries. They need every pair of hands working just to put food on the table. But let's say you're one of the lucky ones. Your family has a little bit of money and they decide to send you to school. What does school look like? It's nothing like the schools you know today. There's no big building with classrooms, hallways, and a cafeteria. School might be held in someone's house, or outside under a tree, or in a rented room in the marketplace. Your teacher is usually one man, and he's not always nice. He's usually mean, really mean, carries a stick, and he's not afraid to use it. Make a mistake while reciting your lessons. Whack. The stick hits your hand. Can't remember what you memorized yesterday? Whack. Talk to the kid next to you. Whack, whack. Physical punishment is completely normal. Nobody thinks it's wrong. Parents expect teachers to hit their kids to make them learn. There are no textbooks, no notebooks, no pencils or pens like you use today. You write on wooden tablets covered with wax using a pointed stick called a stylus. You scratch letters into the wax, and when you're done, you smooth it over and use it again. Paper exists in some parts of the world, but it's extremely expensive. Most people will never own a single sheet of paper in their entire lives. What do you learn? First, you learn to read and write. This takes years because it's really hard, and you learn mathing, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. But here's the crazy part. You're not using the number system we use today. Romans use letters for numbers. The number 49 is written as 49. Try doing long division with Roman numerals. It's a nightmare if you stick with school long enough. Maybe you'll learn some poetry, some history, and how to give speeches. Rich boys might learn Greek, which is like learning a foreign language today. You might study philosophy, astronomy, or geometry. But these are the absolute elite, the top 1% of 1%. Most kids who start school drop out within a few years. They have to go work. Their families need money more than they need education. And honestly, most jobs don't require reading and writing. You can be a farmer, a soldier, a craftsman, or a laborer without ever learning your ABCs. Here's the most shocking fact. In the Roman Empire, one of the most advanced civilizations of the time, probably 85 to 90% of people can't read or write. They're completely illiterate. They live their entire lives without ever reading a single word. School isn't the path to success for most people. It's just another struggle in a life full of struggles. The sun is barely up, and you're already working. Not working like sitting at a desk with a computer. I'm talking about real back-breaking, body-destroying work that starts when you re a little kid and doesn't stop until you re too old, too sick, or too dead to continue. Let's be clear about something. There are no child labor laws 2,000 years ago. None. Zero. If you're 7 years old and you can carry a bucket of water, guess what? You're working. If you're 10 and you can push a plow, you're in the fields. Children aren't seen as innocent little beings who need protection and playtime. They're seen as small workers who eat food, so they better earn their keep.
Ow.
Most people work in agriculture. They're farmers. And farming back then is nothing like the farming we have today, with tractors, irrigation systems, and pesticides. You wake up before sunrise, grab your wooden tools, and head to the fields. You're replowing the land by hand or with an ox if your family is lucky enough to own one. You're planting seeds one by one. You're pulling weeds in the scorching heat. You're harvesting crops with a simple sickle, bending over thousands of times until your back feels like it's going to break. There are no weekends off, no vacation days, no 8-hour workday. You work from sunup to sundown, which could be 12 or 14 hours depending on the season. And you do this every single day except for maybe a few religious festivals throughout the year. Here's what makes it worse. You don't own the land you're working on. Most farmers are tenant farmers or sharecroppers. They work someone else's land and give most of the harvest to the landowner. You might work all year long and only keep 20 or 30% of what you grew. The rest goes to the rich landowner who's probably never even touched a plow in his life. If you're not a farmer, maybe you're an apprentice learning a trade. You might be working for a blacksmith, a potter, a weaver, or a builder. But don't think apprenticeship is easy. Your master can treat you however he wants. He can hit you. He can make you work 18 hours straight. He can give you the most dangerous jobs. You have no rights. You're basically his property until you finish your training, which could take 10 years or more. Some people work in mines. This is a death sentence. Mining 2,000 years ago means going deep underground with no safety equipment, and no proper ventilation, breathing toxic dust and fumes every single day. Mine workers rarely live past their 30s. They die from lung diseases, cave-ins, or pure exhaustion. And who works in the mines? Usually slaves or criminals. It's considered the worst job possible. Women work just as hard as men, but they get paid less or nothing at all. They're cooking, cleaning, raising children, weaving cloth, making clothes, fetching water, grinding grain, and doing 1,000 other tasks. There are no washing machines, no dishwashers, no vacuum cleaners. Everything is done by hand, and it takes forever. Here's the really dark truth. Most people work themselves to death. Literally. They work so hard for so many years that their bodies just give up. A man who's 40 looks 70. His hands are gnarled and scarred. His back is permanently bent. His lungs are damaged from breathing smoke and dust. He still has to work because there's no retirement, no pension, no social security. You work until you physically can't anymore, and then you depend on your children to take care of you. If you don't have children, well, you better hope someone takes pity on you. Otherwise, you'll die alone and poor, begging for scraps on the street. Work isn't a career, it's survival. It never ever ends. You wake up one morning, and your head is pounding. Your throat feels like fire. Your body aches all over. You have a fever. Today, you take some medicine, maybe see a doctor, and you'd probably be fine in a few days. But 2,000 years ago, this could be the beginning of the end. Let me tell you something terrifying. Getting sick back then is one of the most dangerous things that can happen to you. There are no antibiotics, no vaccines, no hospitals with clean beds and trained nurses, no x-rays or blood tests. When you get sick, you're rolling the dice with death. So what do you do when you're burning up with fever? First, your family tries home remedies. Your mother makes you drink strange mixtures of herbs boiled in water. Maybe she puts a cold cloth on your forehead. Maybe she makes you eat garlic or onions because someone told her they cure sickness. None of this is based on real medical science. It's all based on superstition, tradition, and desperate hope. If you're still sick after a few days, maybe your family scrapes together enough money to call a doctor. But here's the problem. Doctors 2,000 years ago don't really know what they're doing. They don't understand germs. They don't know about infections. They don't know that dirty hands spread disease. They're working with theories that are completely wrong. Many doctors believe in something called the four humors. They think your body contains four fluids: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. They believe that when these fluids get out of balance, you get sick. So what's their solution? They try to rebalance your humors by doing things that actually make you worse. You have a fever? The doctor might cut your arm and let you bleed into a bowl. They call this bloodletting, and they think it's removing bad blood from your body. In reality, it's just making you weaker. You're already sick, and now you're losing blood too. Many people die from the treatment, not the disease. Or maybe the doctor gives you a medicine made from crushed beetles, snake venom, animal dung, or moldy bread. Some of these remedies do nothing. Some of them poison you. Very few actually help. It's basically a lottery, and the odds aren't in your favor. Surgery? Forget about it. If you need your appendix removed or have a tumor, you're probably going to die. There's no anesthesia to put you to sleep. If you need an operation, they hold you down while you scream in pain. They use knives that aren't sterilized. They cut you open with dirty hands. Even if you survive the surgery, you'll probably die from infection days later. Broken bones are serious business. If you break your leg badly, it might never heal right. You could be crippled for life, unable to walk properly. And remember, if you can't work, you can't eat. A broken leg could mean poverty and starvation for your entire family. Childbirth is incredibly dangerous for women. About 1 in 50 women dies giving birth. Think about that. If you know 100 women, 2 of them will die just from having babies. There are no C-sections, no epidurals for pain, no emergency procedures if something goes wrong. Women give birth at home, often with just a midwife or female relatives helping. If the baby gets stuck, if there's too much bleeding, if there's any complication, the mother dies, the baby dies, or both die. Even simple things we ignore today can kill you back then. A small cut on your finger gets infected, you could lose your whole arm. A tooth infection, it could spread to your brain and kill you. Diarrhea from bad food can dehydrate you so badly that you die within days, especially if you're a child or elderly. And the worst part? Nobody really knows why people get sick. They blame evil spirits, bad air, the alignment of stars, or punishment from the gods. They pray. They make sacrifices. They wear lucky charms. But none of it works because they're fighting an invisible enemy they don't even know exists. Every single day, people are dying from diseases that would be easily cured today. A simple infection, a minor injury, common illness. Death is always just around the corner, and there's very little anyone can do to stop it. Let's take a walk through a typical city 2,000 years ago. Forget everything you know about clean sidewalks, traffic lights, and organized streets. What you're about to see will shock you. Streets are narrow, really narrow. 2 people can barely walk side by side in most alleys. There are no street signs, no addresses on buildings. If you're trying to find someone's house, you better know the landmarks, because nobody's giving you directions like, turn left at 3rd Street. It's more like go past the broken fountain. Turn at the shop with the red door, and it's near the place where the old beggar sits, the ground beneath your feet. It's not paved smoothly. Some streets have rough stones. Others are just dirt that turns into thick, disgusting mud when it rains. And remember all those animals I mentioned earlier? Their poop is everywhere. Human waste too. People throw their chamber pots, basically their toilets, right out the window into the street below. Imagine walking along and suddenly getting splashed with someone's urine from a 2nd floor window. It happens all the time. The smell is unbearable. Rotting garbage piles up in corners. Dead animals lie in the streets until someone finally drags them away. Open sewers run down the middle of many streets carrying a brown river of filth. In summer, the heat makes everything smell 10 times worse. You have to breathe through your mouth just to keep from gagging. The noise is constant and overwhelming. Merchants are shouting, trying to sell their goods. Fresh fish, fresh fish. Pottery here, best prices. Wine, cold wine. Blacksmiths are hammering metal, clang, clang, clang all day long. Wagon wheels are squeaking. Animals are bleating and squealing. Children are crying. People are arguing. There's no quiet moment. Ever. Traffic is a nightmare. Carts pulled by oxen or donkeys clog the narrow streets. They move slowly, blocking everyone behind them. People are pushing and shoving, trying to get past. Sometimes fights break out. 2 cart drivers get into a screaming match because neither wants to back up. Pedestrians squeeze against walls to avoid getting run over. Danger lurks everywhere. Pickpockets move through crowds, looking for easy targets. They'll slice your money pouch right off your belt before you even notice. Gangs of thugs control certain neighborhoods. If you walk down the wrong street at night, you might get robbed, beaten, or worse. There are no police officers patrolling like today. Maybe there are a few city guards, but they're usually just standing around, not really protecting anyone. Buildings are packed together so tightly that they're practically touching. Most are made of wood, which means fire is a constant terror. One spark from a cooking fire, one knocked over oil lamp, and an entire neighborhood can burn to the ground in hours. There are no fire departments, no fire trucks, no fire hydrants. When a fire starts, people form bucket chains, passing water from the nearest well or fountain, but usually it's too late. The fire spreads too fast. And here's something crazy. The buildings are tall, sometimes 4 or 5 stories, but they're not built well. They're cheaply constructed and overcrowded. Collapse happens more often than you'd think. You're walking down the street, and suddenly a building just crumbles, burying people under tons of rubble. This is urban life. This is normal. This is what most city people experience every single day. Now we need to talk about something really dark, something that makes life 2,000 years ago even more brutal than you can imagine. We need to talk about slavery. Here's a fact that'll blow your mind. In the Roman Empire, about 1 in every 3 people is a slave. 1 in 3. That means if you're walking down a street with 30 people, 10 of them are slaves. They're not free. They don't own their own lives. They're a property like a chair or a cow. Someone else owns them completely. How do people become slaves? There are lots of ways, and none of them are good. The most common way is war. When Roman armies conquer a city or defeat an enemy, they don't just take the land, they take the people. Thousands of men, women, and children are captured, chained together, and marched hundreds of miles to be sold in slave markets. Families are ripped apart. A mother might be sold to one owner, her children to another. They'll never see each other again. Some people are born into slavery. If your mother is a slave, you're automatically a slave too. It doesn't matter who your father is. You inherit your mother's status, and that means you're someone's property from the moment you take your first breath. You'll probably die. As someone's property too, others become slaves because of debt. Your family owes money they can't pay back. A creditor can take you as payment. Just like that, you're sold into slavery to clear the debt. Some people even sell themselves into slavery just to survive. They're so desperate, so hungry, that becoming someone's slave seems better than starving to death on the streets. What's life like as a slave? It depends entirely on who owns you and what job you're given. If you're extremely lucky, you might be a house slave for a kind, wealthy family. You might work as a tutor, teaching their children. You might be a cook or a personal servant. Your life is still controlled by someone else, but at least you're fed, clothed, and not beaten every day. But most slaves aren't that lucky. Most are field slaves, working on huge farms called latifundia. They wake up before dawn and work until after sunset, planting, harvesting, carrying heavy loads. They're given barely enough food to survive. They sleep in cramped, dirty quarters. They're whipped if they work too slowly. They're branded with hot irons like cattle, so everyone knows who owns them. Mine slaves have it even worse. They're sent underground to dig for gold, silver, copper, or iron. The air is thick with dust. The tunnels are dark and dangerous. Cave-ins happen regularly, burying workers alive. These slaves usually die within a few years. Their owners don't care. Slaves are cheap and replaceable. When one dies, they just buy another one. Galley slaves are chained to benches on warships and forced to row for hours and hours. Their hands blister and bleed from gripping the oars. They row through storms, through battles, through scorching heat. If the ship sinks, they drown because they're chained in place. They can't escape. Female slaves face additional horrors. Their owners can do whatever they want to them. There are no laws protecting slave women from abuse. Many are forced to become their master's mistress, whether they want to or not. If they have children from these encounters, those children become slaves too. Can slaves ever become free? Sometimes. Some owners free their slaves in their wills after they die. Some slaves save up tiny amounts of money over many years and buy their freedom. But this is rare. Most slaves die as slaves. This isn't a small problem affecting a few people. This is millions of human beings living without freedom, without rights, without hope. And most free people, they think this is completely normal and acceptable. Let's talk about love and marriage. Forget everything you know about dating, falling in love, and choosing your own partner. Because 2,000 years ago, love has almost nothing to do with marriage. Here's how it works. If you're a girl, your father decides who you'll marry, not you. Your father might be 12 or 13 years old when he makes this decision. That's 12. Girls are considered ready for marriage as soon as they start their periods. Nobody asks if you're emotionally ready. Nobody cares if you're scared. Your childhood ends the moment your father finds a suitable husband for you. And who is this husband? Usually he's much older. Maybe he's 25. Maybe he's 35. Maybe he's 50. Age doesn't matter. What matters is whether he can provide for you and whether the marriage benefits your family. Maybe he's a merchant who can give your father a business connection. Maybe he's from a powerful family that can protect your family. Maybe he just offered a good bride price money or goods your father receives in exchange for you. You probably meet your husband for the first time at the wedding ceremony. Or maybe you've seen him once or twice before, but you've never had a real conversation. You don't know if he's kind or cruel. You don't know if he has a terrible temper. You don't know anything about him, and it doesn't matter because the deal is done. The wedding isn't about romance. It's a business transaction. Your father and your new husband negotiate terms. Money changes hands. Contracts are signed. There's a ceremony with witnesses, maybe some religious rituals, and then you're married. That's it. Now the property of your husband. Legally, you belong to him, just like his house or his cow. What if you refuse? If you say, I don't want to marry this man, too bad. Your opinion doesn't count. If you refuse, your father can beat you, can lock you in your room. He can starve you until you agree. You have no escape. Running away isn't an option because where would you go? A young girl alone with no money and no protection? You wouldn't survive a week? Boys have it slightly better, but not much. If you're a boy, your father also arranges your marriage. But at least you're older, maybe 18 or 20. And you might have some input in the decision, but ultimately, your father's word is final. Marriage is about creating alliances between families, producing children to carry on the family name, and combining resources. Love? That's a luxury most people can't afford. So what happens after the wedding? You're expected to have children immediately. Lots of children. This is your primary job, especially if you're the wife. Your value as a woman is measured by how many sons you produce. Daughters are okay, but sons are what really matter. They carry the family name. They inherit property, take care of their parents when they get old. But here's the tragic part. Many of those babies won't survive. Infant mortality is incredibly high. About 1 in 3 babies dies before their first birthday. Some die from disease, some from malnutrition, some from infections, some for reasons nobody understands. Parents back then expect to lose children. It's normal. Heartbreaking, but normal. If you're a wife who can't have children, your life becomes miserable. Your husband might divorce you. His family might treat you terribly. People whisper that you're cursed or that the gods are punishing you. Nobody considers that maybe the husband has the problem. It's always blamed on the woman. And divorce happens, but it's almost always the man who initiates it. A husband can divorce his wife for almost any reason. She can't have children. She talks back. He's just bored with her. But a wife? She has almost no grounds to divorce her husband. Can beat her, cheat on her, ignore her, and she's stuck. Love might develop over time in some marriages. Some couples do grow to care for each other after years together, but that's luck, not the plan. Marriage is about duty, survival, and family strategy. Nothing more. You've worked all week. Your body hurts. Your hands are covered in blisters. You're exhausted. It's finally time to relax and have some fun. So what did people do for entertainment 2,000 years ago? The answer might make you sick. If you live in the Roman Empire, the biggest form of entertainment is the gladiator games. Tens of thousands of people pack into massive arenas called amphitheaters. The most famous is the Colosseum in Rome, which holds about 50,000 screaming fans. But these aren't games like we think of games today. This is watching real people kill each other for fun. Here's how it works. Men, called gladiators, usually slaves, criminals, or prisoners of war, forced to fight to the death. They're given weapons like swords, tridents, nets, or spears. Then they're pushed into the arena while the crowd goes wild. The fight isn't fake. There's no acting. These men are actually trying to kill each other because if they don't, they'll be killed. The crowd loves it. They cheer when someone gets stabbed. They scream when blood sprays across the sand. When a gladiator is wounded and can't fight anymore, he raises his finger, begging for mercy. The crowd decides his fate. Thumbs up he lives, thumbs down. The winning gladiator drives his sword through the loser's throat while 50,000 people celebrate. But wait, it gets worse. Before the main gladiator fights, there's a warm-up show. Criminals are executed in creative, horrible ways for public entertainment. Some are burned alive, some are crucified, some are torn apart by wild animals. Yes, you read that right. They release hungry lions, tigers, or bears into the arena. And these animals attack and eat people while the crowd munches on snacks and enjoys the show. Speaking of animals, thousands of them are killed in the arena too. Elephants, lions, leopards, bears, bulls. Crocodiles, exotic animals, are brought from all over the world just to be slaughtered for entertainment. Sometimes they fight each other. Sometimes hunters called bestiary fight them. Sometimes they're just killed in mass numbers to show off how powerful and wealthy the emperor is. Children watch all of this. Little kids sit next to their parents, eating food, watching people die brutal deaths, and thinking it's completely normal. Because to them it is normal. This is what they've grown up with. This is their version of going to a football game or a concert. Not everyone loves the games. Some philosophers say it's barbaric. Some people think it's a waste of money and lives. But they're the minority. Most people are addicted to the violence. They talk about their favorite gladiators the way we talk about favorite athletes. They bet on who will win. They collect souvenirs. Some gladiators become celebrities, famous throughout the empire. Other forms of entertainment exist too, but they're less popular. There are chariot races where drivers race horse-drawn chariots around a track at high speeds. Crashes happen all the time. Horses break their legs. Drivers get thrown off and trampled. People die regularly, and the crowd loves it. Theaters put on plays, comedies, and tragedies. These are more civilized, but they're not as popular as the bloody stuff. Some people enjoy poetry readings or musical performances, but again, these appeal to a smaller, usually wealthier audience. In other parts of the world, entertainment looks different, but often still involves violence. Public executions are popular everywhere. Watching criminals get punished is considered both entertainment and a moral lesson. People bring their families to watch someone get whipped, beheaded, or stoned to death. Here's what's really disturbing. Nobody thinks this is wrong. Nobody's protesting outside the Colosseum. Nobody's trying to ban these games. Violence as entertainment is just accepted. It's part of culture. It's tradition. This is what people do for fun. This is how they relax after a hard week of work. Blood, death, and suffering served up as family entertainment. You wake up, and the first thing you do is pray. Before you eat breakfast, you make a small offering to the household gods. Before you leave for work, you ask the gods for protection. Someone in your family is sick, you pray. Crops failing, you pray. Business going badly, you pray. Everything is controlled by the gods, their life. 2,000 years ago is soaked in religion. Not the way we think of religion today, where you might go to church once a week and then go about your business. No, religion back then is constant. It's in every moment of every day. And people don't just believe in one God. Depending on where you live, there might be dozens or even hundreds of gods, and you better keep them all happy. In Rome, there's Jupiter, the king of the gods who controls the sky and thunder. There's Mars, the god of war. Venus, the goddess of love. Neptune, god of the sea. Minerva, goddess of wisdom. The list goes on and on. Each god has their own personality, their own likes and dislikes, their own areas of control. You don't pray to just one. You pray to whichever god handles your current problem. Got a big court case coming up? Better sacrifice to the goddess of justice? Going on a sea voyage? You better make an offering to Neptune, or he might sink your ship with a storm. Want to win a battle? Mars needs to be on your side. Pregnant and scared about childbirth? Pray to Juno, the goddess of women and childbirth. But here's the scary part. These gods aren't nice. They're not loving and forgiving like the God in many modern religions. These gods are moody, jealous, and vengeful. If you forget to honor them, they'll punish you. If you make them angry, they might destroy your entire family. A lightning bolt kills your neighbor, that's Jupiter's anger. A plague sweeps through your city, the gods are displeased. An earthquake destroys your home, you or someone in your community must have offended a god. So how do you keep the gods happy? Sacrifices. Lots and lots of sacrifices. Rich people sacrifice bulls, goats, or sheep. Poor people might sacrifice a chicken or a dove. Really poor people offer wine, grain, or incense. The animal is brought to a temple or altar. Prayers are said, and then boom, the priest slits the animal's throat. The animal dies. Then parts of it are burned so the smoke rises to the heavens where the gods can enjoy the smell. The rest is cooked and eaten by the priests and sometimes the people. This happens constantly, daily, multiple times a day in big temples. The smell of burning meat and blood is everywhere near religious sites. Temples aren't quiet, peaceful places for meditation. They're busy, noisy, bloody places where animals are being killed all the time. Priests are powerful people. They claim to know what the gods want. They interpret signs and omens. A bird flies to the left instead of the right. That's a bad omen. Thunder on a clear day. The gods are speaking. The priests tell you what it means. And you better listen, because disagreeing with them means disagreeing with the gods themselves. People also believe in magic, curses, and evil spirits. Someone got sick suddenly. Maybe a neighbor put a curse on them. Business failing? Maybe an enemy hired a witch to cast a spell? There are people who claim they can read the future by looking at animal guts, studying the stars, or interpreting dreams. Some of these fortune tellers are honest believers. Others are just scammers taking advantage of scared, desperate people. But nobody questions whether the gods exist. It's not even a possibility. The gods are as real as the sun and the moon. The only question is how to keep them happy so they don't destroy your life. The sun is setting. Darkness is coming. And in a world without electricity, nighttime is a completely different beast. Let me tell you what happens when the sun goes down 2,000 years ago. First, understand that it gets dark. Really, truly dark. It's not the kind of dark you experience in a modern city, where streetlights, car headlights, and lit-up buildings keep everything visible. I'm talking about pitch-black darkness, where you literally cannot see your hand in front of your face. There are no streetlights, no porch lights, no glowing signs. When the sun disappears, the world becomes a black void. So what do people do? Most people go inside and lock their doors. Nighttime is dangerous. Criminals, thieves, and violent gangs own the streets after dark. There's no police force patrolling neighborhoods. No emergency number to call if you're in trouble. If someone breaks into your house at night, you're on your own. You fight them off yourself, or you die. It's that simple. Inside your home, light comes from oil lamps or candles, but these are expensive. Oil costs money. Candles cost money. Most families can't afford to keep lamps burning all night, so they use them sparingly. Maybe one small lamp for the whole family. The light it produces is weak and flickering, barely enough to see across the room. Shadows dance on the walls. Everything beyond the small circle of light is darkness. What do people do at night without phones, TV, computers, or books? Not much. Families sit together in that dim lamplight. Maybe they talk. Maybe they tell stories. Maybe parents teach their children songs or prayers. But mostly, people just go to sleep. Why waste expensive oil staying awake when there is nothing to do and you have to wake up at dawn anyway? Sleep is different too. You're not sleeping alone in your own comfy bed with your own room. Remember, entire families live in 1 or 2 rooms. Everyone sleeps in the same space. Parents, children, grandparents, all crammed together. Privacy doesn't exist. You can hear everyone breathing, snoring, coughing, moving around. Babies cry. Old people groan in pain. Someone always has to get up to use the chamber pot, disturbing everyone else. The bed itself. If you're poor, it has a mat on the floor or a simple wooden frame with ropes stretched across it and some straw or rags thrown on top. No mattress, no springs, no soft pillows. You wake up with a sore back and neck every single morning. Rich people have actual beds with some padding, but even those aren't comfortable by modern standards. And it's cold at night, especially in winter. There's no central heating. There's no thermostat you can adjust. You might have a fire burning in a brazier or a fireplace, but fires are dangerous. You can get out of control and burn your house down. Plus, they fill the room with smoke because ventilation is poor. You have to choose between freezing or choking on smoke. Many people just pile on extra clothes and blankets and shiver through the night. Strange noises echo through the darkness. A dog barking. A baby crying in a nearby house. Rats scratching in the walls, the wind howling. Every sound is amplified by the silence and darkness. Your imagination runs wild. Is that footsteps outside? Someone trying to break in? Is that a ghost or an evil spirit? Remember, people believe in supernatural beings. They think demons and spirits roam at night. Every shadow could be a threat, real or imagined. If you need to use the bathroom at night, you're not walking down a hallway to a nice, clean toilet. You're refumbling in the dark for a chamber pot of clay or metal pot that everyone in the family uses. It sits in the corner of the room, filling with urine and feces throughout the night. The smell is terrible. In the morning, someone has to carry it outside and dump it. usually into the street or a nearby pit. Very few people go out at night unless absolutely necessary. If you must travel after dark, you carry a torch stick with cloth wrapped around the end, soaked in oil and set on fire. It provides light for a few feet around you, but it also tells everyone exactly where you are. Thieves can see you coming from far away. Night isn't a time for fun or adventure. It's a time to hide, to survive, to wait for the safety of daylight. Darkness brings fear, cold, and danger. Everyone breathes a sigh of relief when the sun finally rises again. Let's talk about war, not the way we see it in movies with heroes and glory. I'm talking about real war the way it actually happens 2,000 years ago. Trust me, it's more brutal and terrifying than anything you can imagine. War is constant. It's always happening somewhere. Empires are expanding. Tribes are fighting over territory. Cities are attacking each other. Kings want more land, more resources, more power. And who fights these wars? Regular men. Farmers, blacksmiths, shopkeepers. Men who just want to live peaceful lives but get forced into becoming soldiers. If you're a young man, you might be drafted into the army whether you want to or not. One day you're working in your field, and the next day, soldiers show up and tell you that you're in the army now. You have no choice. Fuse, and you'll be executed as a deserter. So you say goodbye to your family, not knowing if you'll ever see them again, and you march off to war. Training is brutal and short. They give you a weapon, maybe a spear, a sword, or a band. They teach you basic formations. That's it. Within weeks or even days, you're on a battlefield facing enemy soldiers who want to kill you. You're scared out of your mind, but you can't show it. You can't run because your own commanders will kill you for cowardice. You have to stand there and fight. Thousands of men crammed together, screaming, shoving, stabbing, slashing. The noise is deafening. Metal clanging against metal. Men screaming in pain. Officers shouting orders that nobody can hear over the chaos. The ground is slippery with blood. Bodies are piling up. You're stepping over corpses of men who were alive just minutes ago. You're fighting hand-to-hand combat with swords and spears. This isn't shooting someone from a distance. You're close enough to see your enemy's face, close enough to smell his breath. You stab him with your spear and he screams. Blood sprays on you. He falls. And immediately another enemy soldier is in front of you trying to kill you. Your arms are exhausted. Your whole body is shaking. But you keep fighting because if you stop, you die. Arrows are flying through the air. You don't see them coming. 1 second you're fine. The next second an arrow punches through your shoulder and you're on the ground, screaming in agony. Or maybe you're lucky and it misses you, but it hits the man standing right next to you. He drops dead instantly and you keep fighting over his body. The battle lasts for hours. When it's finally over, you look around and half your friends are dead or dying. The field is covered with thousands of bodies. Wounded men are crying for help, begging for water, calling for their mothers. Some have lost arms or legs. Some have their guts spilling out. The medics, if there are any, can't help everyone. Most of the wounded will die slowly over the next few hours or days, but the horror doesn't end when the battle ends. The winning army goes into the enemy city or camp, and this is where things get even worse. Soldiers are allowed to loot and plunder. They kick down doors and take everything valuable: money, jewelry, food, weapons. If anyone resists, they're killed on the spot. Women and children are targets too. Female civilians are assaulted. Children are taken as slaves. Old people who can't work are sometimes just killed because they're useless to the conquerors. Entire families are destroyed in a single day. Houses are burned to the ground. Farms are wrecked. Livestock is stolen or slaughtered. If you're captured as a prisoner of war, your fate is terrible. You might be sold into slavery. You might be tortured for information. You might be executed as an example to scare others. Some prisoners are crucified, nailed to wooden crosses, and left to die slowly over days. It's one of the most painful ways to die, and it's used specifically to terrorize people. War isn't heroic. It's hell on earth. And it happens over and over and over again. We've talked about the hard lives of men, but now let's talk about something even harder. Let's talk about what it's like to be a woman 2,000 years ago. Because if you think men have it rough, women have it 10 times worse. From the moment you're born as a girl, you're worth less than a boy. Your parents might even be disappointed when you're born. Another girl, they sigh. Some families are so poor or so desperate for sons that they practice something unthinkable. They abandon baby girls. They leave them outside to die from exposure, hoping the gods will take pity, or hoping someone else will find and raise them. This happens regularly. Baby girls are literally thrown away like garbage. If you survive infancy, your childhood is short. Oh, boys might get to play and learn. You're working from age 5 or 6. You're helping your mother cook, clean, fetch water, and take care of younger siblings. You're learning to weave cloth, make clothes, and prepare food. These are the only skills you'll ever need, because this is your entire future. You have no freedom. You can't go wherever you want. You can't make your own decisions. You can't choose your own path in life. As a child, your father controls you completely. He decides everything: what you eat, what you wear, who you talk to, and most importantly, who you'll marry. You are his property until he transfers ownership to your husband. Education? Forget it. In most places, girls aren't taught to read or write. What's the point? You're just going to be a wife and mother. You don't need to know how to read. You need to know how to cook and clean and obey. Some wealthy families might teach their daughters basic reading, but this is rare and considered somewhat unusual. Then comes marriage at age 12, 13, or 14. You're still a child, but suddenly you're someone's wife. You're expected to run a household. You're expected to have sex with a man you barely know. You're expected to get pregnant immediately and start producing babies. Pregnancy is terrifying. You know the statistics, even if you don't have the exact numbers. You know, women who died in childbirth, maybe your own mother, your aunt, maybe your neighbor. Every pregnancy could be the one that kills you, and you'll be pregnant a lot. Most women have 6, 8, 10 pregnancies during their lives, some even more. There's no pain medication during labor, no epidural, no C-section if something goes wrong. You labor for hours or even days in excruciating pain. Women in your family or a midwife help you, but if complications happen, there's nothing they can do. You just hope you and the baby survive. If you do survive childbirth, your job is just beginning. You're nursing the baby, which means you're the only source of food for this infant. No formula exists. If you can't produce enough milk, your baby might starve. You're also still doing all your regular work: cooking, cleaning, making clothes, fetching water while caring for a newborn. Your husband can treat you however he wants. If he beats you, that's his right. You're his property. There's no one to call for help. No domestic violence laws. No shelters to run to. You just endure it. If you complain, people will say you probably deserved it. You must have been disobedient or disrespectful. You can't own property in most societies. You can't sign contracts. You can't represent yourself in court. So legally, you're like a child. You need a man to speak for you. First your father, then your husband, then your sons when you're old. You're never a fully independent person. If your husband dies, your situation becomes desperate. You might be thrown out of your home. Your husband's family might take everything. You have no job skills, no money, no way to support yourself. You might have to beg on the streets. You might have to depend on the charity of relatives who don't really want you around. Some widows remarry quickly out of pure necessity, even if the new husband is cruel, just to have food and shelter. Your life expectancy is shorter than men's because of all those dangerous pregnancies. Many women die before age 40. Those who survive to old age are worn down, exhausted, often in chronic pain from a lifetime of hard physical labor and multiple childbirths. You have no voice, no vote, no say in government or politics, no opportunity to become a doctor, lawyer, merchant, or scholar. Your world is your home. Your children, and your daily chores. That's it. That's your entire existence. This is the reality for half the human population. This is what it means to be a woman 2,000 years ago. Let's talk about food. Not the way you know food today, with grocery stores full of choices and restaurants on every corner. I'm talking about food when it's a matter of life and death. One bad harvest means thousands of people starve. And food isn't guaranteed, when hunger is your constant companion. Most people 2,000 years ago lived one bad season away from starvation. Think about that. One drought, one flood, one swarm of locusts eating the crops, one unusually cold winter. That's all it takes for an entire region to face famine, and famines happen regularly. Every few years, somewhere in the world, people are dying by the thousands because there's simply no food. Your diet is incredibly boring and repetitive. Eat the same things every single day. Bread and porridge. Porridge and bread, maybe some beans, maybe some lentils. If you're lucky, a few vegetables like onions, cabbage, or turnips. That's it. Week after week, month after month, year after year. The same meals over and over. Meat is a luxury you almost never taste. It's maybe a few times a year during festivals. The rest of the time, you're living on grains and whatever you can grow or forage. Your body is constantly lacking important nutrients. You're deficient in vitamins and minerals, though you don't know it. You just know you feel tired all the time, your teeth are falling out, and your bones ache. Fresh food doesn't stay fresh for long. There are no refrigerators, no freezers. So in summer, food spoils quickly. Milk goes bad within a day. Meat rots in hours unless it's salted or dried. You eat food that's starting to turn bad because you can't afford to waste it. Sometimes you get sick from it. Sometimes people die from food poisoning, but nobody understands why. Preserving food for winter is crucial for survival. During harvest season, everyone works frantically to preserve as much as possible. Grain is dried and stored in sealed jars. Vegetables are pickled in vinegar or brine. Meat is salted, smoked, or dried into jerky. Fruits are dried in the sun. Every family tries to store enough food to last through winter, when nothing grows. But storage is a problem. Rats and mice get into your grain stores and eat or contaminate your food. Insects infest stored grain. Mold grows on everything in damp conditions. You can lose half your stored food to pests and spoilage. There is nothing you can do about it except try to protect what you have and hope it lasts enough. When famine strikes, things get dark fast. Food prices skyrocket. A loaf of bread that normally costs a few coins suddenly costs 10 times as much. Poor people can't afford to eat. They start selling their possessions just to buy food. First the jewelry, then the furniture, then the tools they need for work, then their animals. Finally, some desperate parents even sell their children into slavery just so the kids will have food to eat. People get creative and desperate. They eat things they normally wouldn't touch. Tree bark, grass, leather from old shoes boiled until it's soft enough to chew. They hunt rats, mice, birds, anything with meat on it. They dig up roots and eat plants that sometimes make them sick. Children suffer the most during famines. Their little bodies need nutrition to grow, but there isn't any. They become thin and weak. Their bellies swell from malnutrition. Their hair falls out. Many simply die. Parents have to watch their children waste away, knowing there's nothing they can do. The pain of that is unimaginable. Disease always follows famine. Weakened bodies can't fight off infections. Plagues sweep through starving populations, killing even more people. A region might lose a quarter or even half its population during a bad famine. Entire villages are wiped out. Fields are abandoned because everyone who worked them is dead. Even when there's enough food, the quality is questionable. Bread often contains dirt, sand, and small stones from the grinding process. These slowly destroy your teeth. Sometimes unscrupulous merchants mix sawdust or chalk into flour to stretch it further. The poor eat this stuff because they have no choice. Water is often unsafe to drink, but you have to drink something. Clean water sources are rare. Most people drink from rivers, wells, or public fountains that are contaminated with who knows what. You just hope you don't get sick. Food isn't pleasure. Food isn't enjoyment. Food is survival. Sometimes there simply isn't enough. Let's talk about what it's like to be a kid 2,000 years ago. And I'm going to be honest with you, childhood as we know it today doesn't really exist back then. There's no such thing as just being a kid. There's no protected time for playing, learning, and growing up slowly. Childhood is short, harsh, and often tragic. We talked about how dangerous childbirth is for mothers, but it's just as dangerous for babies. Many infants die within days or weeks of birth. They die from infections, from being born too early, from birth defects that could be fixed today but are death sentences back then. About 1 in 4 babies doesn't make it to their first birthday. 1 in 4. That's a 25% chance your baby won't survive a single year. If you make it past infancy, you're not safe yet. Childhood diseases kill constantly. Measles, mumps, whooping cough, scarlet fever, diphtheria. These diseases tear through communities, and kids die by the hundreds. There are no vaccines, no antibiotics, no pediatricians. When your child gets sick, you just pray and hope. Sometimes they recover, often they don't. Parents back then have to emotionally protect themselves. They can't get too attached to their babies, because there's a good chance those babies unsurvive. Some parents don't even name their children until they're a few months old, waiting to see if the baby will live. Imagine that. Imagine not naming your own child because you expect them to die. The kids who do survive don't get to enjoy a long, carefree childhood. By age 5 or 6, you're working, not playing, not going to school. Working. Little girls are helping their mothers with household chores, fetching water, grinding grain, watching younger siblings, learning to cook and sew. Little boys are helping their fathers in the fields, in the workshop, or learning whatever trade their father practices. The work is real work, not pretend. 6-year-old boy might be responsible for watching the family's sheep or goats all day long. If a wolf attacks and kills one, he'll be punished. Maybe beaten? 7-year-old girl might be in charge of her baby siblings. If something happens to the baby while she's watching, it's her fault. Their responsibility is enormous, and they're just children. There are no child labor laws, no rules about how many hours a kid can work, or what kind of work is too dangerous. Children work in mines, in dangerous workshops, in scorching fields under the brutal sun. They get injured. They get sick from the working conditions. They develop lifelong health problems from the physical strain put on their growing bodies. Play does happen, but it's limited and brief. Kids might play with simple toys, a ball made of rags, a doll made of wood or clay, small animal figures carved from bone. Wealthier kids might have better toys, wooden horses, miniature carts, board games. But even these kids don't play for hours every day like modern children. They have lessons, chores, and responsibilities. Street kids have it worst of all. Orphans or abandoned children living on the streets, surviving by begging, stealing, or doing whatever odd jobs they can find. Nobody takes care of them. Nobody adopts them. They form gangs with other street kids, sleeping in alleys, under bridges, anywhere they can find shelter. Many don't survive past age 10. Discipline is harsh. Really harsh. Parents beat their children regularly, and nobody thinks twice about it. A child talks back. Beating. Doesn't do chores properly. Beating. Makes a mistake. Beating. Teachers beat students. Masters beat apprentices. Physical punishment is considered the correct way to raise children. The idea that you should reason with a child or use gentle discipline, that doesn't exist. Children have no rights. They're the property of their fathers, who have absolute power over them. In Roman law, a father can legally kill his own child if he wants to. Most don't, but the fact that it's legal shows how little value is placed on children's lives. A father can sell his child into slavery to pay debts. He can force his daughter into marriage at age 12. He makes every decision, and the child has no say whatsoever. Many children watch their siblings die. You might grow up with 5 brothers and sisters. But by the time you're an adult, only 2 are still alive. The others died from disease, accidents, or starvation. Death is a constant presence in childhood. You learn about loss before you learn to read. Childhood isn't innocent. It isn't protected. It isn't safe. You grow up fast because you have to. By age 12 or 13, you're basically an adult with adult responsibilities. Your childhood is over. Let's talk about what happens when someone breaks the law 2,000 years ago. And let me warn you right now, the punishments are brutal, savage, and designed to make you suffer as much as possible. This isn't about rehabilitation or second chances. This is about revenge and terror. Imagine you steal a loaf of bread because your family is starving. Get caught. What happens? In many places, they cut off your hand. Not as a metaphor. Literally. They hold you down, put your hand on a wooden block, and chop it off with an axe while a crowd watches. You're left bleeding, screaming, and permanently crippled. Your hand is gone forever. And if the wound gets infected, which it probably will, you die a slow, agonizing death. Murder, execution, but not quick and painless. Depending on where you live and who you killed, you might be crucified. They nail you to a wooden cross through your wrists and feet. Then they stand the cross upright and leave you there. You don't die quickly, it takes days. You're in excruciating pain the whole time, struggling to breathe, baking in the sun, dying of thirst. Birds might start eating you while you're still alive. The Romans crucify thousands of people, lining roads with crosses as warnings to others. Or maybe you're beheaded. Sounds quick, right? Sometimes it is. But sometimes the executioner misses or uses a dull blade, and it takes multiple swings to cut through your neck. You're conscious for some of those swings, feeling everything. The crowd watching cheers or jeers depending on their mood. Worse punishments exist for worse crimes. Traitors might be drawn and quartered, tied to 4 horses that run in different directions, literally ripping your body apart. Some criminals are burned alive at the stake. They tie you to a wooden post, pile wood around your feet, and light it on fire. You scream until your lungs are too damaged. Then you suffocate from the smoke or burn to death. Either way, it's horrible. In Rome, there's a punishment called damnatio ad bestias, condemnation to the beasts. Criminals are thrown into an arena with hungry lions, tigers, or bears. The animals tear them apart, while thousands of spectators watch and cheer. Sometimes they get creative and force criminals to reenact mythological stories where the character dies. You're tied up, can't defend yourself, and wild animals eat you alive. Prisons exist, but they're not like modern prisons. They're dark, filthy dungeons underground. No windows, no light, no sanitation. Prisoners are chained to walls. They sit in their own waste.
Ow.
They're given barely enough food and water to stay alive. Many prisoners die from disease before they ever face trial. Some are forgotten down there and simply starve to death. Torture is legal and common, especially for slaves. If a crime happens in a household and they need information, they can torture the slaves until someone confesses. It doesn't matter if that person actually did it. Under enough torture, people confess to anything just to make the pain stop. Methods include the rack stretching your body until joints dislocate, breaking bones with hammers, whipping until your back is shredded, burning with hot irons. Women face additional punishments related to their sexuality. A woman accused of adultery might be stoned to death. The community gathers, and everyone throws rocks at her until she dies. Or she might be stripped naked and paraded through the streets as public humiliation. Her life is essentially over even if she survives because her reputation is destroyed. There's no such thing as a fair trial for most people. Rich people can afford lawyers and might get justice. Poor people, you're guilty until proven innocent if they even get a trial. Many punishments happen immediately based on an accusation. Someone important accuses you of a crime. You're probably getting punished whether you did it or not. Police don't exist in the way we know them. There's no one investigating crimes or protecting citizens. If you're robbed, you better catch the thief yourself. If someone attacks you, you better fight back because no one's coming to help. Justice is often just revenge carried out by victims and their families. Public executions are entertainment. Remember, people bring their kids to watch criminals die. It's considered educational and entertaining. The message is clear: break the law, and this will happen to you. Fear keeps people in line more than any sense of right and wrong. The punishment always fits the crime in the worst way possible. Eye for an eye, hand for a hand, life for a life. But usually worse, because the goal is to terrify everyone else into obedience. You need to travel to another city. Maybe you're visiting family. Maybe you're going to sell goods at a market. Maybe you're fleeing trouble. Whatever the reason, get ready for one of the most dangerous things you can do in the ancient world. Travel isn't an adventure, it's a gamble with your life. First, let's talk about roads. In the Roman Empire, they've built some decent roads straight, paved, engineered for military movement. These are the highways of the ancient world. But they only exist in certain areas, and even these good roads are rough on your feet. Most places don't have Roman roads. They have dirt paths that turn into rivers of mud when it rains. They have rocky trails through mountains. They have routes through forests where you can easily get lost. How do you travel? If you're rich, you might ride a horse or travel in a cart pulled by oxen or mules. But most people? You walk. Everything is done on foot. Walking 20, 30, 40 miles in a day is normal. Your feet develop thick calluses and blisters. Your legs ache constantly. You're recarrying whatever supplies you need on your back because there are no rest stops or convenience stores along the way. Speed is incredibly slow by modern standards. On foot, you might cover 15 to 25 miles per day, depending on terrain and weather. That means a trip that takes 2 hours by car today might take a week or more on foot back then. A journey from Rome to Egypt? That's months, not hours. Most people never travel more than 50 miles from where they were born in their entire lives. The world is huge when you can only move at walking speed. Bandits are a constant threat. Thieves and robbers hide along popular routes waiting to ambush travelers. They target anyone who looks like they might have money or goods. If you're traveling alone, you're an easy target. They rob you, take everything you have, and often kill you so you can't identify them. Your body gets left by the roadside where it might not be found for days or weeks. That's why people travel in groups whenever possible. There's safety in numbers. Merchants form caravans, groups of traders traveling together with guards. Regular people join these caravans or wait until they find other travelers heading the same direction. But even in groups, you're not completely safe. Large gangs of bandits attack entire caravans sometimes. Wild animals are another danger, especially at night. Wolves, bears, lions, tigers, depending on where you are in the world. If you're camping outside, you need to keep a fire burning all night to scare predators away. You take turns keeping watch. Sleep is light and nervous because any sound could mean danger. Getting lost is easy and potentially fatal. There are no GPS systems, no maps for common people, no road signs pointing the way. You navigate by landmarks, by the sun and stars, and by asking directions from locals if you can find any and if they speak your language. Take a wrong turn and you could wander for days, running out of food and water. Weather is a serious hazard. Caught in a rainstorm, you're soaked, cold, and at risk of hypothermia. There are no weather forecasts. There's no shelter except what you can find or build. In deserts, the heat can kill you through dehydration. In mountains, sudden snowstorms can trap and freeze you. Flash floods wash away paths. You're completely at nature's mercy. Finding food and water along the route is challenging. You carry what you can, but it weighs you down and runs out quickly. You need to find towns or villages where you can buy or trade for supplies. But what if there's no town for 2 days? What if the well you were counting on has run dry? You go hungry, you go thirsty, you suffer. Accommodation is primitive and often disgusting. In towns there might be inns where travelers can rent a bed. But these inns are nothing like hotels today. You're sharing a room with strangers. The beds are infested with lice and bed bugs. The food is questionable. Sometimes you're just sleeping on the floor in a common room with dozens of other people. River crossings are particularly dangerous. There are no modern bridges everywhere. You might have to wade or swim across rivers. The current can sweep you away. Your goods can get ruined. Some places have very small boats that carry people across, but these are unstable and sometimes capsize, drowning everyone aboard. If you get sick or injured during travel, you're in trouble. There's no nearby hospital, no ambulance. You're stuck wherever you are, hoping to recover before you die or your supplies run out. Many travelers die on the road from injuries or illnesses that would be minor problems today. Travel is so risky that people make wills before long journeys. They say goodbye to family members knowing they might never return, because honestly they might not. The world is a dangerous place when you leave home. You've made it. You've survived childhood diseases, dangerous work, famines, wars, and all the other hazards of life 2,000 years ago. You're now 40 years old. And guess what? You're considered old, really old. Your body's breaking down. Time is running out. Here's a shocking fact. The average life expectancy is somewhere between 25 and 35 years, depending on where you live. Now, that doesn't mean everyone dies at 30. Some people do live to 60, 70, or even 80. But so many babies and children die that it drags the average way down. If you make it past childhood, you might live to 50 or 60, but that's still much younger than today. Why do people age so fast? Because life is brutal on the body. Remember all that hard physical labor starting from childhood? Your joints are worn out, your back is permanently damaged, your hands are gnarled from decades of repetitive work. You have arthritis in multiple joints causing constant pain. There's no pain medication except maybe some herbal remedies that barely help. Your teeth are mostly gone, ground down from eating bread with stone grit in it, rotted from decay because dental care doesn't exist. If you're lucky, you have a few teeth left. Many people in their 40s have no teeth at all. They can only eat soft foods. Chewing is impossible. This makes nutrition even worse, weakening you further. Your eyesight is failing. No glasses exist for common people. If you're going blind, you just go blind. You can't read anymore. Can't do detailed work. You become dependent on others to help you. Same with hearing. As you age, you go deaf, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. Chronic diseases that we manage today with medication are death sentences back then. Heart disease. You just get weaker and weaker until your heart gives out. Diabetes. It kills you slowly. Cancer. Extremely painful and always fatal. High blood pressure, stroke territory with no treatment. The worst part about getting old, you become a burden. You can't work anymore. You can't contribute. You're eating food and taking up space. In poor families, this causes serious problems. Do they use resources to feed an old person who can't work? Or do they feed the children who are the future? Your value as a person diminishes. People stop listening to your opinions. Your children might respect you, or they might resent having to care for you. You're no longer the strong provider or the capable worker. You're just an old person waiting to die. Many elderly people die from simple accidents. You fall and break your hip. That's usually fatal. You can't walk anymore. You're bedridden. Infection or pneumonia kills you within weeks or months. A broken bone that would be fixed with surgery today means death back then. If you're lucky, you have children who care for you in your final years. They give you food, shelter, and basic care. But if your children are poor, that care is minimal. You might live in a corner of their small house, barely acknowledged, just existing until death comes. If you don't have children, or if your children can't or won't help you, your situation is desperate. you might end up begging on the streets. Old beggars are common sights in cities. Elderly people with nowhere to go, no resources, relying on the occasional charity of strangers. Many die on the streets, alone and forgotten. There are no retirement homes, no nursing facilities, no social security or pension systems, no government programs to help the elderly. You're completely dependent on family or private charity. If both fail you, you suffer. When you're dying, there's no hospital, no morphine to ease the pain, no doctors monitoring your condition. You die at home, in bed, surrounded by family if you're fortunate. The dying process can take days or weeks of suffering, pain, confusion, fear. You might cry out for relief that never comes. Religious rituals provide some comfort. Priests might come to say prayers. Family members pray with you. You hope for a good afterlife, whether that's the Greek underworld, the Roman Elysium, the Egyptian field of reeds, or whatever your culture believes. Fear of death is real, but so is the exhaustion. By the time death comes, many people are ready. Life has beaten them down so thoroughly that death seems like rest. Funerals are important, but vary by wealth. Rich people get elaborate ceremonies with processions, professional mourners, and expensive tombs. Poor people get simple burials wrapped in cloth and placed in a hole in the ground. Some cities have mass graves where the poor are dumped together without ceremony. Life is short, life is hard. And when it ends, you're lucky if anyone remembers you existed. Most people leave no trace, no written records, no photographs, no graves that survive. They're just forgotten, as if they never lived at all. Now let me tell you about something that terrifies everyone in the ancient world, that nobody truly understands. Disease, plagues, epidemics that sweep through cities and kill thousands in weeks. It's the invisible enemy that strikes without warning and shows no mercy. Picture this. You wake up one morning and your neighbor is dead. The next day, 3 more people on your street are sick with high fevers. By the end of the week, half your neighborhood is either dead or dying. Nobody knows why. Nobody knows how to stop it. Panic spreads faster than the disease itself. Plagues are a regular occurrence throughout history. Most famous is the Antonine Plague that hits the Roman Empire around 165 AD. It kills millions of people, maybe 5 million or more. Some historians think it's smallpox or measles, but the people living through it have no idea what's causing it. They just watch helplessly as people die by the thousands every single day. Symptoms are horrifying. Victims develop high fevers that make them delirious. Their bodies break out in painful sores and pustules. They vomit blood. They have severe diarrhea that dehydrates them rapidly. Their skin turns dark and rots while they're still alive. Family members watch their loved ones suffer through days of agony before finally dying. There's nothing, absolutely nothing anyone can do to help them. Death toll is staggering. In some cities, 1/4 of the population dies. In others, it's half. Bodies pile up faster than they can be buried. Mass graves are dug outside city walls. Workers throw corpses in by the dozens, barely covering them with dirt before more bodies arrive. The smell of death hangs over entire cities for months. Why do plagues spread so easily? Remember the living conditions we talked about? People crammed together in small spaces, no concept of germs or how disease spreads, no hygiene, filthy streets, contaminated water. It's the perfect recipe for epidemics. When one person gets sick, everyone around them gets infected. Doctors are useless against plagues. They try everything: bloodletting, special diets, herbal medicines, prayers, magic charms. Nothing works. Many doctors refuse to treat plague victims because they're terrified of getting sick themselves. Some doctors do try to help and end up dying too, which just makes other doctors even more reluctant. People desperately search for explanations. Why is this happening? In Rome, many believe the gods are angry and punishing humanity. They hold massive religious ceremonies, sacrificing hundreds of animals, begging the gods for mercy. Others think it's caused by bad air or miasma. They carry flowers or herbs, holding them to their noses, thinking pleasant smells will protect them. Doesn't work. Superstition runs wild. Some think witches are causing the plague with curses. Innocent people get accused and killed. Others believe it's a punishment for society's sins. Religious fanatics roam the streets, preaching that everyone needs to repent. Some people flagellate themselves, whipping their own backs until they bleed, thinking their suffering will convince the gods to end the plague. Society breaks down during major plagues. Businesses close. Markets shut down. People stop working because why bother if you're going to die anyway? Food shortages develop. Crime increases. Some people turn to looting, stealing from the sick and dying. Others abandon their families and flee to the countryside, hoping to escape infection. The economy collapses. With so many people dead, there aren't enough workers. Fields go unplanted. Shops close permanently. Trade routes shut down. The survivors face poverty and hunger on top of everything else. Recovery takes years or even decades. Quarantine is sometimes attempted, but it's crude and often cruel. Sick people are locked in their homes, sometimes with their healthy family members who then get infected too. Entire buildings might be sealed shut with everyone inside, sick and healthy together, left to live or die. Guards stand outside to prevent anyone from leaving. It's basically a death sentence for everyone in that building. Children become orphans by the thousands. Their parents die, leaving them alone. No foster care system exists. These kids end up on the streets, fending for themselves. Many don't survive. Those who do face lives of extreme hardship. Fear becomes overwhelming. You don't know who's infected. Your friend looks healthy today, but might be dead tomorrow. You're afraid to touch anyone. Afraid to go outside. Afraid to let your children play with other children. Trust evaporates. Communities fall apart. Everyone is suspicious of everyone else. And just when you think it's over, when the death rate finally drops and life starts returning to normal, another plague hits a few years later or a decade later. It's a cycle of death that never truly ends. You live your entire life knowing that at any moment, an invisible enemy could strike and wipe out your entire family. This is life with disease 2,000 years ago. Constant fear, constant death, and absolutely no understanding of how to fight it. We've traveled through an entire life 2,000 years ago, from the moment you're born to the moment you die. And now it's time to understand the full truth. The complete picture of what life was really like back then. Here's what you need to understand. Almost everything that makes your life comfortable, safe, and long today didn't exist. No modern medicine, no clean water systems, no electricity, no refrigeration, no police, no child protection laws, no human rights, no safety regulations, nothing. Every single day was a struggle for survival. You wake up not knowing if today is the day you get sick and die, not knowing if there's enough food, not knowing if violence will find you, not knowing if your children will live to see tomorrow. Life is uncertain, dangerous, and short. The average person works brutally hard from childhood until death. Their body breaks down from the constant labor. They never take a vacation, they never retire. They never have a day where they can just relax and do nothing. Work or starve. Those are the options. Pain is constant. Tooth pain from rotting teeth. Joint pain from worn out bones. Back pain from decades of heavy lifting. Hunger pains from never having enough food. And there's no relief. No aspirin. No painkillers. You just endure it. Every day, for your entire life, you watch people die all the time. Your siblings, your children, your parents, your friends, your neighbors. Death is everywhere. It's normal. You become numb to it because if you didn't, you'd go insane from grief. By the time you're 30, you've probably attended more funerals than birthday parties. Freedom doesn't exist for most people. If you're a slave, you're property. If you're a woman, You're controlled by men your entire life. If you're poor, you're trapped in poverty with no way out. If you're a child, you have no rights at all. Only a tiny percentage of people wealthy, free men have any real control over their lives. Education, opportunity, social mobility, forget it. You're born into a class, and you die in that class. A farmer's son becomes a farmer. A slave's daughter becomes a slave. There's no follow your dreams or be whatever you want to be. You're what you're born as, and that's your fate. But here's what's truly mind-blowing. The people living through all of this, they don't know life can be any different. They don't know about antibiotics that could save their dying child. They don't know about democracy or human rights. They don't know about machines that could do their back-breaking work. This is just life. This is reality. This is normal. They accept their suffering because they have no choice and no knowledge of alternatives. When bad things happen, they blame the gods or bad luck. When good things happen, they thank the gods. They don't understand that so much of their suffering could be prevented with knowledge and technology that woe and te exist for thousands of years. And yet, people still find moments of joy. They still laugh with friends. They still love their families. They still feel proud when they accomplish something. They still enjoy a good meal when they get one. They still watch sunsets and feel wonder. Humans are incredibly resilient. Even in the worst conditions, they find reasons to keep going. That's perhaps the most important lesson from all of this. Life 2,000 years ago was objectively terrible by our standards. It was violent, painful, short, and unfair. But the people living it were just as human as we are. They had hopes and fears. They had dreams, even if those dreams were small, just hoping their children survive, hoping for enough food, hoping to avoid violence. We are so incredibly lucky to live now instead of then. Every convenience you take for granted, clean water from a tap, food from a store, a doctor when you're sick, a school to attend, laws that protect youth, these things are miracles that billions of people throughout history never experienced. So the next time you complain about something small, remember what life was really like 2,000 years ago. Remember the children working in mines. Remember the mothers dying in childbirth. Remember the slaves with no freedom. Remember the sick with no medicine. Remember the hungry with no food. You're not just lucky. We're reliving in a way that would seem like an impossible fantasy to almost everyone who ever lived throughout human history. Art, normal is their wildest dream. That's the truth about life 2,000 years ago. That's what the ancient voices would tell us if they could. Life was hard. Life was brutal. Life was short. But it was life. And they lived it the only way they knew how, one difficult day at a time, hoping tomorrow would be just a little bit better.